boys and girls, from me, Henry, and Nipper. Now before we start, if you like the video, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe. Also press the bell. Tell one and all it costs nothing to subscribe to watch Henry and Nipper. This will ensure you get notifications every time me, Henry, narrates my latest video with my fluffy little friend, Nipper. Now children, tonight's story is The Frog Prince, the tale of a prince who was turned into a frog by a spiteful fairy. Are we all snuggled in then? So we shall begin. Once upon a time, one fine evening, a young princess put on her bonnet and clogs, and she went out to take a walk by herself in the woods. When she came to a cool spring of water that rose in the midst of it, there she sat herself down to rest for a while. Now she had a golden ball in her hand, which was her favourite plaything, and she was always tossed it up into the air and could catch it as it fell again. After a time, she threw it up so high that she missed catching it, and it fell. The ball bounded away and rolled along upon the ground, till at last it fell down into a spring. The princess looked into the spring after her ball, but it was very, very deep, so deep she could not see the bottom of it. She then began to bewail her loss and cry and said, "Alas, if I could only get my ball again, I would give all my fine clothes and jewels and everything I have in the world." While she was speaking, a frog put his head out of the water and said, "Princess, why do you weep so bitterly?" "Alas," she said, "what can you do for me, you nasty frog? My golden ball has fallen into the spring." The frog said, "I want not your pearls and jewelry and fine clothes, but if you will love me and let me live with you and eat from your golden plate and sleep upon your bed, I will bring back your ball again." "What nonsense," thought the princess. "This silly frog is talking. He can never even get out of the spring to visit me, though he may be able to get my ball for me, and therefore I will tell him that he shall have what he asks." So she said to the frog, "Well, if you bring me my ball, I will do all you ask." Then the frog put down his head and dived deep under the water. After a little while he came up with the ball in his mouth and threw it on the edge of the spring. As soon as the princess saw her ball, she ran to pick it up. She was so overjoyed to have it in her hand that she never thought of the frog, but ran home with it as fast as she could. The frog called after her, "Stay, princess, and take me with you, as you said." But she did not stop or hear a word that he spoke. The next day, just as the princess had sat down to dinner, she heard a strange noise. Tap, tap, plash, plash, as if something was coming up the marble staircase, and soon afterwards there was a gentle knock on the door, and a little voice cried out and said, "Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here, and mind the words that thou and I said by the cool fountain in the greenwood shade." Then the princess ran to the door and opened it, and there she saw the frog whom she'd quite forgotten about. At this sight she was sadly frightened and shut the door as fast as she could back to her seat. The king, her father, seeing that something had finished her, asked her what was the matter. "Daddy, there is a nasty frog," she said, "at that door that lifted my ball for me out of the spring in the morning. I told him that he would live with me here, thinking that he could never get out the spring. But there he is sat at the door, and he wants to come in." While she was speaking, the frog knocked again at the door and said, "Open the door, my precious dear. Open the door to thy true love, love here. And mind the words that thou nigh said, by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." Then the king said to the princess, "As you have given your word, you must keep it, so go and let him in." So she did, and the frog hopped into the room, and then straight on, tap, tap, plash, plash, from the bottom of the room to the top, till he came up close to the table where the princess sat. "Pray lift me upon the chair," said the princess, "and let me sit next to you." As soon as she had done this, the frog said, "Put your plate nearer to mine, so I may eat of it." This she did, and when he had eaten as much as he could, he said, "Now I am tired. Carry me upstairs and put me to bed." The princess, done as she was asked, though very unwillingly, took him up in her hand and put him upon the pillow of her own bed, where he slept all night long. As soon as it was light, he jumped up, hopped downstairs, and went out of the house. "Now then," thought the princess, "at last he's gone. I shall be troubled with him no more." But she was mistaken, for when night came, she heard the same tapping on the door, and the frog came once more and said, "Open the door, my dear princess. Open the door to thy true love. Hear and mind the words that thou and I said, by the fountain cool and the greenwood shade." When the princess opened the door, the frog came in and slept upon her pillow as before till the morning broke, and the third night he did the same. But when the princess awoke the following morning, she was astonished to see, instead of the frog, a handsome prince gazing at her with the most beautiful eyes she'd ever seen, standing at the head of her bed. He told her that he'd been enchanted by a spiteful fairy who had changed him into a frog, and that he'd been fated so to abide till some princess should take him out of the spring, let him eat off her plate, and sleep upon her bed for 3 nights. "You," said the prince, "have broken this cruel charm, and now I have nothing to wish for but that you should go with me to my father's kingdom, where I will marry you and love you as long as you live." The young princess, you may be sure, was not long in saying yes to all of this, and as they spoke, a gay coach drove up with 8 beautiful horses, decked with plumes of feathers and golden harnesses. Behind the coach rode the prince's servant, faithful Heinrich, who had bewailed the misfortunes of his dear master during his enchantment so long and so bitterly that his heart had well nigh burst. They then took leave of the king and got into the coach with 8 horses and set out full of joy and merriment for the prince's kingdom, when they reached safely, and they lived happily ever after for many great years to come. Well, children, wasn't that a nice little story? So it's nighty-night from me, Henry and Nipper. Nighty-night, children. Nighty-night. Nighty-night.